Yes, madam, we can start.
Yes, ma'am. 1 minute. 1 minute. On behalf of Professional Engineering College, I take privilege to introduce our today's guest, Dr. Ranjana Patel, who is a PhD holder of Technology Transfer to FTI in Telecom sector, MBA in Finance and Information Technology, and she's a startup educationist, trainer, mentor. She has a rich academic and research experience of 17 years. She has more than 35 publications to her credits and has taken part in various national and international conferences, workshops, seminars, and faculty development programs. She has successfully coordinated various national and international level events, conferences, and workshops. She has presented several research papers at various level of national and international conferences, and she has also conducted many training sessions and workshops along with being an editorial board of journals. Our core areas of interest include project management, financial modeling, using Excel entrepreneurship, business communication, and strategic management. She has successfully handled establishment, management, and operation of AIC Prestige Inspire Foundation Indore since inception. And she is also doing an in-house mentoring, business plan, and pitching preparations for startups and overall working of AIC PIF for supporting the startup and to scale up the ecosystem, managing communications, reporting, and overall functions. Now, she is currently the president of PIMR Institution Innovation Council, and she is also the editor of Prestige International Journal of Management and Research. And she is also actively mentoring startups due course. Ma'am, I am welcome to Pratusha Engineering College. Ma'am, I welcome you to Pratusha on behalf of our management. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation, and we are waiting for your wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And it's indeed very nice to come again and interact with all of you. So I'm very thankful, ma'am, that you have approached us again. So thanks a lot for that.
And thank you very much. Pleasure,
Yes.
ma'am.
I'll just share my screen in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so very good morning to all of you. And today we are simply talking about design thinking. We are talking about critical thinking and innovation design. So if we just look into these three terminologies, they look quite different to us. They look quite technical to us as well. And the motive of today's session is to decode this, that how all these three terms are helping in the process of doing our startups, or how they can be very much crucial or instrumental to our startups. So I hope that you all are part of Institute Innovation Council, and few of you must also be very much interested in coming up with your own startup, and you must be taking few steps. And you know, I think I must have talked about in my last session also, and I talk about this in all the sessions which I take, that we really need to understand that entrepreneurship as a journey or startup as a journey is just not about the idea or execution of the idea. In fact, it is quite technical and it's very systematic. And by technical, I do not mean that you need some technical expertise or you need, some technological handling all the time, but technical in the sense that there are steps involved. It is a very, very systematic process. So what basically this IIC is trying to do, why all these platforms and these chapters are being made, so that the journey of the startup or the journey of the founder of the startup becomes easier, and the startup understands what are all the steps that they need to undertake. So, a question must be coming to your mind: what if I skip a step? What if I do not follow critical thinking? What if I do not adopt design thinking? What will happen? My idea is very unique. You know, this is what comes to mind of everybody who's doing a startup. What will happen if my idea is wonderful, my product is innovative, I have a very creative way of, going and reaching out to my customers and the market. So why do I need to look into all these things? So that this is what I want to insist upon at this point of time, that there are a lot of things which we do and we do not understand that we are actually following a process. And in that process, if you miss upon something, like all of you must have seen the steps to management, like your first semester, you all must have been taught, even if you're doing engineering or if you're doing a management course, wherever we talk about a process of management, we talk about plan, do, act, check cycle. If you talk about software development, again, you have a SDLC cycle, software development life cycle. And again, if you look into the steps are PDCA, right? So plan, develop, plan, do, act, check. So this is like, at the end of the day, even if you do not follow this process, you are following this process. And if you miss a step, you have to go back. You will be actually doing that. So that is why all these sessions are being organized, so that you all understand the systematic flow. What are all these concepts, why we need to utilize these concepts, and how these concepts will actually help me in growing my startup. So what will change? There are two things. One, if you do not follow the process and if you miss the link, at the end of the day, you have to come back to the link. So what is in the process that we are trying to save over here? We are trying to save the time which has been invested by a startup. And time is the most crucial and elemental factor. If you talk to startups, or if you look at people, or you talk to people who are extremely, experienced in this domain, and people must be telling you that a lot of startups fail. So some people will say that 99% startups fail. Then some people must be saying that startups fail due to their execution. So what is it all about? What is missing in that execution that startups are not able to succeed? And these are the steps which are usually missing, or we do not take due consideration of these things when we move ahead with our startup. So you must have, till now in different sessions, we have talked of ideation, we have talked about proof of concept. But before moving towards product thirst market, before moving towards MVP, we need to understand the conceptual background, or the conceptual layout of the processes that we should be engaging in to make sure that our startup does well. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants the startup to thrive. As a founder or a co-founder, this is what you want. So if you follow a systematic process, or if you understand the application of these processes, it will become easier for you. Okay, so let's move towards the first step to this, which is, let's understand what is critical thinking. So there are two words in this. One is critical and second one is thinking. And if you look into this diagram, these are the steps which we follow when we are saying that if you have to do critical thinking, when you are involved in a business, these are the steps which you have to follow. So now if you see here, the first step, what you are trying to do here is why we are doing critical thinking. So this is the foundation. The first step is problem solving. We are trying to attempt problem solving. In the stages of ideation also, if you recall, the experts must have told you that first of all, identify a problem, right? Or identify a gap. Then they must have told you also identify, in our ideation workshops, this is what we do. We say that you should identify a problem, or you should identify a challenge, or you should identify a problem statement that you want to address, looking into the fact that is it worth solving? There may be many problems, like in your personal life also, or in your professional life, coming to your institution, if you're going to your home, on the way, there may be n number of problems in a day which you can list. But do you think that every problem needs that attention, that focus? So how will you identify? You will rate it. And on the basis of that, you will see that how many people, the majority of the people are, if they are having the same problem and they want this problem to be addressed. If they want this problem to be addressed, then it is worth solving. And that is wherein the first step comes in, which is called as problem solving, right? If you are using mobile phones, I hope all of you are using mobile phones. So in mobile phones, nowadays you must have seen a feature when even if you type in English, it can be converted into multiple languages. You must have heard of a startup. Quite recently, they have been talked about startup as well, which is Devanagari. So they convert, not, I must not say that they convert, they transliterate any language into Indian languages. They're currently working on 40 languages and it's just not conversion. They are doing transliteration. That means to be exact, to be precise, they are trying to convert it into the very native form of the language. So was it a problem worth solving? Any answers to that? Okay, I'll give you a much more common example. You must be seeing movies. A lot of us see Hollywood movies, right? And many a times, maybe French movies or German movies, and many a times we use the captions, like if you subtitles in our own language, and usually the language is English, but you must have seen that the effectiveness of what is being communicated is always reduced because that is not the real translation or transliteration of what is being communicated. So you get uh, the conversion of the language, but it is not exact. And that is wherein the need for solving this kind of problem arises. So this is a classic example of how you will identify even a problem worth solving. So what we are talking about, problem worth solving. So first step is problem solving. The second step to this is creativity. So why creativity comes in problem solving? If a problem has to be solved, it is a technical process. It is a systematic process. It is a management oriented process. So why are we talking about creativity? So creativity and innovation goes hand in hand. For a lot of products and processes, you may need innovation, and for a lot of products and processes, you may also need creative bent of innovation, right? So you come up with something called as creativity. So problem solving through creativity and then analyzing. So analysis with respect to, there can be many parameters to analysis. Usually we say it's the customer's perspective to analysis, and then communication. So communication where? Within the organization, outside the organization. And if you see last step, this is a very important step which is called as open-mindedness. What do we understand by open-mindedness over here? That you must be open to feedbacks and suggestions. And it is just not taking the feedback. We are talking about openness of feedback and suggestions. So this is critical thinking. So I'll not take much of the theory because we have already discussed all the processes. So if you see here, the second line, it is the ability to think clearly and rationally about what to do or what to believe. That is what we were referring to as problem solving. It includes the ability to engage reflective and independent thinking. That is where when we talked about the creative bent of solving the problem. Someone with critical thinking skill is able to do the following: understand the logical connections between ideas, identify the construct, evaluate the arguments, detect inconsistencies and common mistakes in reasoning, solve problems systematically, identify the relevance and importance of idea, and reflect upon the justifications of one's own beliefs and value. That is what we are talking about, communication and open-mindedness. So I can share these slides with you if you want. So critical thinking is quite compatible with thinking out of box, challenging consensus and pursuing less popular approaches. What is out of box? We always call it as you should go out of box, thinking must be out of box. Critical thinking, here we are saying out of box approaches. Somebody Okay.
No, continue, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So when we are saying out of box approaches, so we are because it would have been very simple to solve it in a normal manner. It would not have existed as a problem. It definitely means that there is something more which is required to make sure that there is proper addressal of this problem. In a proper manner, this problem is addressed to, and that is what critical thinking does. So the first step is critical thinking. So you are doing critical thinking, we have seen, with problem solving. So I'll skip this part. You can go to it because we have already discussed how it works. Now let's see, because there are a lot of things which I would like to talk about in this session. I've included some more important things other than what we have taken in this session, apart from the three topics. This is a design ladder. This has been given by the Danish Design Center. So they are one of the most prominent organizations, or I must say institutions, that talks about design as a fundamental to the entire process. And they have defined a design ladder where they say that to every design process, there will be 4 steps. The first step is a non-design step, where you are not applying design principles. Now we will also come to design, and I'll just explain that to you. What is design in your mind? Okay. So where design is not applied systematically. So step 1 is non-design. Second, design as form giving. So where design is used to finish the product or finish the styling part of the product or look and feel of the product. So that is the second part of it, design as form giving. The third is design as a process. That means where not only for finalizing or finishing the product design is used, but in the entire process design is integrated. So design becomes an integral part of the entire development process. And the fourth part of this ladder is design as a strategy. So that means when you take strategic decisions in your organizations, when you decide strategic moves or strategic objectives in your organization, that is at that point also you consider design. So that is design as a strategy. So this is a design ladder which has been given by, I have already told you, the Danish Design School, and it first says that these are the 4 steps which usually organizations engage in. So there may be organizations which are non-design organizations. They do not consider design to be part of the entire process. Then there can be organizations where they just use design for a particular part of the process of the formulation. Not the entire process involves design, or not the entire organization is design centric. Then the third part is design as a process and design as a strategy. Now next, let's see, before we move on to design thinking, I think we must have discussed it in our last sessions, or you must have already gone through it, which is called as a double diamond framework. And I only want you all to look into these 4 Ds: discover, define, develop, and deliver. So this is called as a double diamond framework, if, as you see here. So the first step here is discover, the second is define, and here where you can see there is written as opportunity statement, this is a place where ideation also happens. Okay, so this is a place where what happens, ideation also happens. So ideation will happen here, so that is wherein we are saying that this is an opportunity statement, and on the basis of ideation develop the product, and then you will deliver the solution. So now see, I'll come back to this diagram again. As of now, I just want all of you to focus on this. Discover, where we are saying opportunity space, you have done critical thinking and you have identified what all can be looked upon. Then there is define, so you define certain problem statements and you ideate. After ideating, you develop solutions, and after developing solutions, you deliver it. Okay, so we'll come to this external part of the diagram after we have discussed the design thinking process. So I hope everybody is able to understand. If you have any questions, you can, at this point of time, we can discuss it, or you can open discussions. If you have a question, you can ask. Anyone who's having any question? Okay.
Regarding this uh, uh, patent and this new designing, how we can able to link, ma'am, or this academics
Well,
lagging with the research. So how this research patent and this engineering designs we can take through?
so in case of patent, if we are talking about, there will be two types of patent. One will be your design patent, and second will be your process patents. And in case of academics, and usually in case of engineering and management, we are usually going for process patents and not for design patents. Design patents are very difficult, but that does not mean that people are not doing it. It's a very engaging and a very long-term process. But in case of process patents, what happened that we identify, maybe I may discuss about one of the patent that I have done. What we have tried to do is we have tried to identify, and we have applied for it, for the patent, where we are just trying to understand the financial distress among the Indian users, and we have tried to model a process for that, and for that we are doing a process patent. But in case of design, what will happen, design will have many fundamental elements. Okay, I'll give you a small example. I hope I'll be able to address your question then. So sir, if you recall, there have been many litigation cases between Samsung and iPhone. Can you recall these news maybe a decade back or so?
Yeah, Samsung got a better market when iPhone means Apple company got the Steve Jobs no more. So that time
Yeah.
Samsung got a better market.
Yeah, and there were many legal and litigation cases where iPhone said, I would actually sued Samsung for the, the question here there was that they have taken design. Like for Apple, there's a specific design, and that design just does not mean the look and feel or the physical feature. It meant a lot more than that. So whatever product you see, suppose if you look at a car, looking at a car, are you able to identify the brand or the car model with which it belongs to?
Some level we can sure we can try, ma'am.
Yeah. Now there is one more distinction with respect to brands. Also, there are similarity. Like a Maruti Suzuki car line will look different, and a Skoda car line will look different, and you're able to identify or recognize it with some recognizable features, which usually are like the logo, the design, and the look and feel and the external features of it, right?
Ma'am.
So
Yes.
in case of mobile phones, what happened? UX, what we call it as the user interface or the UX design. So that forms a very elemental part or becomes a very fundamental part of how people will interact with the product. So a lot of you who must be using iPhone products or using iPhones, any model, they will say that it is very convenient to use an iPhone as compared to an Android phone, right? So what they have done, it is not just, see, this is one design of a phone. This is one design. So you may find n number of mobile phones which look similar from different brands, but the user experience, the user interface, the user graphics, if they involve a design process, what is that design process? The design process in case of Apple is convenience. So during the entire process, when they develop user interface, they have made use of design elements. So with respect to my understanding, if I tell you that talk of just say the first step I said was critical thinking. Now, when you come to design thinking will say that you do not have to focus on the problem. You have to focus on people. So here design becomes people centric, user centric, not people centric. It will become user centric. That what is the convenience for the user? You must have seen car designs where a door opens in a specific manner in all the cars. But there are designs in which the door may open exactly in the opposite manner. So that are all the design fundamentals of it. So where user-centric designs are made, that are called as, that involves the design thinking part of it. So your question basically was that for engineering and management students, usually, sir, we get engaged at process patent part, but in case of engineering, a lot of design may happen. But for that, usually it has to be collaborative, because you just can't do it in a lab. You need industrial collaboration, you need a corporate collaboration where specific problem is addressed, and therein you attempt a design patent.
He is coming, they are different. That is why you are getting able to like in the classes.
Hello, ma'am.
Sir,
Yeah, ma'am.
yes.
Yes. So, ma'am, yeah, I understand, ma'am. Like industry and corporate collaboration, some level needed. But what kind of regulation we supposed to basically understand, ma'am? Whether any rules and regulations are there, SOP?
Sir, this is an entirely separate topic. There are definitely, but I must say that it has become very easy in India, and you can do your own patenting on your own. You can file your own patent. You can then again, sir, patenting is a very different domain altogether. You also have to look into the geographical and territorial part of it. You also have to see what kind of patent you're looking for. So a lot of now Indian people who have become very much aware about patent, now they are focusing on specific patents which will also be having clearances from US, and it's a very difficult patent to achieve. So, sir, patent in itself is a very, I must say, a separate domain, a separate specialization altogether. So, if you have a very problem or a question related to patent, we can take it in a different session, because वो मुझे I think कि आपका कोई definite question है which I can address later.
Sure, thank you. And please
This is a
share your
very
contact
generic.
number or any mail ID, ma'am, if you can share, please.
Of course, of course.
Thank
So
you.
definitely, sir, we can do that. Just a sec. Yes. So let me move to, okay. Now let's first see this, and then we will move to the double diamond framework again. So design thinking, what it says that, see, we have talked about critical thinking. So critical thinking says that you have to focus on a problem worth solving, and then you have to think on those lines. But design thinking as an approach is very different. What it says that you do not have to think of problem. You have to think of people, and you have to think of solution for people. So now, are you able to see the difference between the two approaches? Earlier it was critical thinking, and now why design thinking is becoming very famous? Because somebody else is at center. It is not you, what you want to do, what is your idea, what you want to bring into the market. It is rather the user. The user is at the center, and according to the user, you design this entire process. So the first step in case of design thinking, which you must have never seen, is empathize. What is empathize? Empathize is the first step wherein you would like to understand what exactly is the user looking for. The user may tell you that this is my problem, but that exactly is not the problem. The problem is something else, right? So I will very small example. This is a real world example where design thinking was used by an industry. So what they did was that quite often they were seeing that the truck drivers who come to their production unit delivering the raw material used to have a fight with the security people at the gate. So there is a process that a truck is coming to the factory unit, and in that factory unit there is security guards, and at the entry they will see what is the raw material, the weighing will happen, the input of raw material, the quality testing will happen, and then this raw material will go to a particular place, and then it will be unloaded. So there were several cases where the security guards were having fights with these truck drivers. And the organization initially thought that there is a problem with the security. So they changed few. So see, I'm specifically giving you example. This is a live example. So they changed few security people, but the problem never got solved. So the problem was that the security guard is fighting with the truck drivers. The problem never got solved. Then they thought that, okay, maybe the truck driver's attitude is a problem. But the problem never got solved. So then they hired few people as consultants to solve this problem, because it was a very on and off problem, and it was a lot of processes were getting affected by it. So when these people did they utilized proper design thinking approach, and then they came to know that because these truck drivers were driving for quite long, for 2 days, 3 days, even in some cases for 7 days, 10 days. So when they arrive at the security gate to unload their goods, they then are in a hurry. They just want goods to be unloaded so that they can, have their own time and they can relax, because they are extremely tired. And it is very important for them that their concern is that they want to unload the goods very fast. The security guard's concern is that they need to ensure that goods are in proper condition. They get a clearance from the quality department, and only then they will allow the people to do the unloading process. Now both the people are right at their places. So what was the design approach in it? The design approach in this case, which these people used in their organization or in their production unit, was that as soon as the truck arrived, they identified what is the waiting period, and for that waiting period they made sure that the truck drivers were given proper refreshment water, and they were allowed to sit in proper shades. So they managed a shade outside the production unit where they were given refreshment water and other things. So immediately that problem was addressed, and there was nothing like a fight going on between the security guard and the truck drivers. So can you see a very simple solution over here? So this is the design approach. That means it was user focused. So empathize here, can be the user, it can be the people who are engaged, or it can be the consumer. Then define the problem, then ideate, as you know how we do ideation, then prototype the solution, and then test it. These are the steps to design thinking. Now let's go back. So in your double diamond framework, you will see, when we are talking about discover, define, and develop, this is a stage where you are doing ideation and you have developed a prototype. This is a place where you have developed a prototype. So now you just see this part of it. The proof of value, that means the desirability and to the problem fit. Then the feasibility part of it, where you say you are trying to identify a solution fit. And then proof of market, where you are trying to achieve the viability and growth fit. So these are the steps which coincide. If you see here, if you just look into this double diamond framework, you will see here what it is first talking about: identify and understand the need of your end user through co-creation. This is the first step they are saying. Then iterate a design. This is what we are talking about: ideation and development. See, it is highly correlated. Ideate and develop concepts based on identified opportunities. And then it is saying, third part is iteratively prototype and test concepts and potential users. And the last part is to test, gather feedback, analyze, interpret. That means open-mindedness and having feedback. And that is how you reiterate this process. You keep on reiterating. That means you start, you do innovations and creative solutions to your existing services. And this is how it has very high applicability with respect to the design thinking process also. So here what we are seeing, it is a user focused iterative process, and it focuses on understanding the user, because at the end of the day, whatever you're giving in the market is for the user. Defining the issues and identifying new creative solutions through a process of, so in critical thinking also we were finding solution, creative solution. But what is different in case of critical thinking? We are concentrating on the problem. but here we are concentrating on the user. That's the design approach of it. So design is, whenever I say design, the first thing that hits our mind is the look and feel of the things. But that is not only the design. Design is also the entire process in which you are developing the product. So it's not a step-by-step process. It's basically a reiterative process. So a lot of things are going parallelly, like you are, if you just look into this diagram, so it is not stepwise. You are simultaneously ideating and prototyping. So on the basis of that, there may be 2 or 3 types of prototyping going on. And simultaneously the testing is going on and the feedback is going on. So it's a parallel process. So these are the steps which we have already seen and which we have discussed. So I don't want to talk a lot about or read about a lot of theory part of it. So you just have to see these are standard. So if somebody says what is design thinking, you have to remember, like in PDCA or SDLC, we remember the steps. So in case of design thinking also, the first step is empathize, second is define, third is ideate, fourth is prototype, and the fifth is testing. So these are the 5 steps which defines the entire design thinking process. Now you see, well, I've already told you all that it is a iterative process, reiterative process. So that is why you see this is an infinity sign. You all are able to relate to it. That means parallelly a lot of things are going on. So what is the first step which we have talked about? Empathy. What will empathy help you? Empathize help you research, observe, understand, create the point of views. What is the second step? Second step is define. So define the challenges and explore the human context. So here everywhere we are talking about human context. That is what differentiates critical thinking from design thinking, or any other method or processes, how they are differentiated and why design thinking is becoming very popular. This is the reason for it. You must have heard of design schools. We call them D schools or design schools or desk schools. And in India also design thinking is taking a lot of, I must say, place, and a lot of design schools are coming up. So earlier we used to associate design with, say, fabrics or textiles or shoes. These were the only things with which we were able to associate design with. But if you see all technological products, even I must say that a space mission cannot be completed without design. It will also involve all stages of design. So what you are doing here, empathize and define, test is continuously going on. You prototype, again you test, you ideate, and again you test, you prototype, again you test. So this is a reiterative process which is going on. Okay. So this is how we have defined. And this, please look into this. Not much is left for what we want to discuss today. I'll share these slides with you if you want. If you see here, there are 3 things. Just look into these 3 things, okay? First is viable. When we are viable, it is the business context of solution, right? So a company may come up with a product, but that product must be viable to the company. It may be a very unique product, but if it is not viable for you, if your cost benefit analysis doesn't match, then it's not a product with which a company will move forward. So the first thing is viability. The second is the feasibility. So the technology part of it, feasibility. And the third part over here is the desirability. That means the human part of it. Even if it is viable, even if it is feasible technologically, it has to be desirable. That means the user must be willing to use the product or the service. Then if you see here, between viable and feasible, we come with a small area which is called as possible, right? Similarly, between feasible and desirable, we come up with a area as usable, and viable and desirable, we come up with valuable. So when possible, usable, valuable come together and they coincide together, we come to a part which is called as innovation. So the product has to be viable, the product has to be feasible, and the product has to be desirable. That means there has to be a usability of the product as well. So I would just, because I cannot take much of the time. Usually these sessions are very small sessions. So look into microwave into your kitchen. So microwave was not a home product. It was not made for users or women in the kitchen. It was an industrial product made for industrial labs. Then it was thought that it can be commercialized and taken to home. So that's the usability part of it. But how many products have reached your home? So microwave is one such product, right? So I'll give you one more example. Like you must have seen ready to eat food, and specifically South is doing very good with respect to processed food industry. So a lot of processed food industries are working in the southern part of India, and they are doing very well. And not only processed, they are using biotechnology. So if you look into these products, these have changed the entire landscape of food business. And these are all products that are manufactured in India, processed in India, and they're using the most advanced technology, and they have come up with innovative products. You must have heard of Mom as a brand and Triguni Eats as a brand, where you must have seen that, you just have to add water and a fabulous product is ready in front of you. This is what we are talking about. Viability of the product, technologically it has to be feasible. So I've given you a specific example of the Triguni Eat. Please explore it and just see how innovative their product is and how usable their product is, which they are offering to the market. Okay. Now let's come to this part, that how will you apply design thinking? So I do not know whether this has been covered or not, but it is a very important part of the design process, which is called as BMC. We call it as business model canvas, and this business model canvas has got 9 elements. And if you fit in every element, let me tell you one more thing. When you will make your first business model canvas for your business idea, there may be, because see, you are the founder of it. When you will do the first business model canvas, you will be completely convinced that this is the best BMC which you have done. But that's the beauty of BMC, and that's why you should do it. Fill in all these 9 key elements. It is advised that you keep looking every 3 months or every 1.5 months. You go back to your BMC and see what is matching, what is not matching, or what you would like to change. So what are these 9 things which you have to do in a business model canvas? First is identify your key partners. Second, what will be your key activities? From where your resources will come, that means the key resources. What is the value proposition? It's very easy to say that this is the unique product which I am coming, but when you will write value proposition, it will become very difficult for you. And this is what defines your organization. If you see, this is the biggest place which you are having in this entire BMC. Value proposition. Value proposition is what defines your company or your startup for which you stand for. What is it that you're offering to your customers? What is it that the company will represent? The company is selling yet another cosmetic product. Why should people take it from you? Have some value proposition. Recently, you must have seen that there are a lot of brands that have come up. Like you must have seen a brand like Mamaearth. They are talking about value proposition where they're saying that their product is sustainable and they are not harming the nature. If you look into Kinley, it's a bottled water, right? And the company is saying that for every drop of water which they are taking from the environment, they are making sure that 100 times they are able to clean water and they are give back to the environment. So that is the kind of value proposition which we are talking about, for which your company stands for. What is it that you represent? It doesn't have to be always in terms of giving the cheapest product to the consumer. You also have to think about what is it that the customer looks into. What is it that the customer will be more driven for? Like whether they want natural products, organic products, they want sustainable products. So I'm giving you a keyword over here. Sustainable is the keyword which you will keep hearing for next 5 years, 10 years. And India will have an advantage because we are not very much mechanized. We are not We are having industrial development, but still a lot of our processes are still sustainable. We are like mid-level mechanization is what we have achieved. So for us, it is very easy to go for sustainable propositions in our products and in our services, what we do. So value proposition is for what your company stands for. Next is customer relationship, how you'll define. It looks very easy, huh? Let me tell you. But when we do business model canvas, even for 10 days, people are not able to fill their BMC for their own ideation, for their own business idea. The channels which you will be using, customer segments which you have identified, cost structure of the company SKU, and the revenue streams. So these are the 9 things which you answer. And when you answer these 9 things, they are not fixed. You keep on changing. You may have thought of some channel, and in the process, you may think of deleting the older channel which you have selected and adding something new. So this BMC keeps on changing. So when we do BMC, we always tell people that you should name it as first draft, or first iteration, second iteration, third iteration. So this is how you do a BMC, and this is how you can apply all the concepts of design thinking using the business model canvas to your startup. Now let's see, I'll just finish in maybe next 5 minutes. Steps to drive innovation through design. Understand the challenge, understand how your business works, understand the context and your position, understand your, see, this is wherein we are talking about the design thinking approach. Focus on problems worth solving. Define your value proposition, that means for which your company stands for. Ideate for solutions, prioritize solutions, prototype your solutions, and test your solutions. So majorly you will see that they are like PDCA cycle only, but in a systematic manner. Here we are trying to have a human centric approach to solving our problems. So this is from my side, and I am open to questions and discussion, because this basically had so much to cover, and much more to cover which I have not been able to do, to be very honest, because in a 1 hour session or 1.5 hour session it's really not possible.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Any questions, means you can put. Ma'am, another question from my side. Actually, now we
Yes,
are
ma'am.
saying for students' projects and all, even in innovation national contest, national innovation contest, they are asking us to prepare a business model canvas for whatever project we are giving it, prototype designing. But our students, actually, what they'll do it now, they are getting everything and they're doing it. Actually, what they expect in it, we are not able to find it out, because our students are technical students and they are not good in management thing. So they have a problem in doing it also.
So ma'am, we
So
can do 2 things. If any of your student is willing to take my help in making the BMC, I am open to it. I would love to do it. Number one. Number two, if I do one with one student, they all will be able to understand how it is done for their own product. Like one
yeah,
BMC we have to do. For BMC itself, we take 2-3 sessions where we tell them how to do a BMC stage wise. Like how will you write value proposition? Every word is critical. So how will you define it? It's extremely critical. It looks very easy. Okay, 9 things I have to fill, but it's very difficult.
yes, yeah, we this thing. But anyhow, we have done it with the help of some EDI member only, ma'am.
Yes, yes,
Annamalai
yes.
University, Annamalai
Okay,
University, yeah, and we are able to go with the financial stage. Last stage we have done. We're waiting for the
very
results.
nice. Very nice.
But I'll take your word, ma'am, because I want to have a session separately, because this is a title and this is due to pandemic, I was not able to arrange different sessions. So I have an idea of going with the session of this business model, business plan and business model canvas, because
Canvas.
most of the students are liking going for that entrepreneurship program, EDC cell we have, and many of them have their ideas to go with the next stage. So this will help them to write the business plan. So writing a business plan is also art, because the engineering
Yeah.
students, we doesn't know how to write it technically. We may be sound, but
Yeah,
this
you're
management part,
absolutely right.
yeah, because they are expecting only this management part when we go with the, when we approach any investors or this thing. So there we are going with a lack. So definitely I want to have a session in Business plan and
Yes.
business model canvas separately, ma'am. We'll do it.
And we can have a separate discussion also if nearby your area, if I am able to bridge you with somebody who can, you get a, so I will definitely would love to help, ma'am. No worries.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So what does channel in BMC means, ma'am?
Channels. See, channels, we are talking about distribution channel, we are talking about marketing channels. So now all these disciplines have become very complex. Distribution has not remained simple. So whatever you must see in theory, that these are the type of distribution channels which are used by companies, you may come up with your own model of distribution as well. So they can be zero level, they can be different, like I hope you all understand distribution. We say that there has to be a CNF, there has to be a retailer, there has to be, this is the model, right? There has to be then there are organizations who have completely changed the models. So my suggestion to you, all of you who are taking this a bit seriously, related to your segment, suppose if you are doing some product in your startup, identify at least 2 or 3 unique startups that have happened in your domain, in your sector, and just look into what unique they did with respect to distribution, with respect to marketing, with respect to product itself, with respect to packaging. Okay? Like, see, I will reiterate it. With respect to product, how is their product unique? What have they differentiated in their product? Second, with respect to the distribution channel, because establishing a distribution network is a costly affair. Having a supply chain channel is a very costly affair. So what have they done? How are they managing? Everybody cannot do JIT also, right? So everybody cannot be behaving like Walmart or Amazon also. So what are, you just take 2 or 3 examples looking into your own segment. Suppose if you are into textile, take 2 or 3 new brands which have established themselves and just look at where they have tweaked their channel, their marketing channel, their distribution channel. You will get enough idea to think on different lines altogether. So I'm not saying that, it is like, taking inspiration, understanding what people have done differently and why, because you have limited money. When you are in a startup, your money is limited. You get very limited funding also, and you have to utilize that funding very well, because everybody is talking about 10x returns, right? 10x returns, 5x returns. So that is wherein, why the startup has to be unique. Everybody can do it. Tatas can come up with 10 different, but why a startup should do a new product vertical? Because that is what is the capability of a startup, to utilize limited resources, limited money, and scale up faster. And that is why people are willing to do startup, because the scale up has to be very fast, and you always have to think of scale up. Think of sugar as a brand. I hope you must have seen. Think of sugar as a brand. So think of products and verticals which are very close to you, may not be very similar, but very close to you, or are entirely, say, substitute product. You must have studied the concept of substitute product, right? There are substitute products, there are complementary products. Just look into what innovation have happened. Also, just don't look into the Indian environment. Look into such kind of startups in, say, Silicon Valley. You'll get wonderful ideas.
Any other questions?
Maybe let me see. I'm not sure whether I can share or not, but let me ask if I can share someone's BMC. So I'll share it with you, madam, then. So they get some basic idea on how this flow happens. Because in our session, what we do is we start with the first matrix, and we do it one by one, and the children do it one by one. So they themselves know how to do their BMC and how to reiterate it later.
But actually, we have to have a session, ma'am. I think we'll go with the new normal from March 9th. Our students will be coming to college. So
Yes,
I'll find out the free time from you, feasible
sure.
time, and I'll make it.
Of course, of course. No worries, ma'am.
Yeah, because we have a EDC cell also.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
So actually we have to do it out. So I'll also have a talk with them and we'll have a thing on this business plan and this thing. So that will help
And I'll
us
also
to.
help you out with the local resource, ma'am, because luckily I've been connected to, the entire nationwide network of AICs. So let me find somebody who's very near to you and who can engage with your children if you want. Then I will find out somebody also, and I'll let you know.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Because at times it is also very important that the children are able to reach out to them quite often and very frequently. So I definitely would like to do that as well.
Yeah, okay. Because with the help
Okay,
of
ma'am.
IIT only we got from Annamalai University.
Hmm.
So, but that also over phone only you can do it because we cannot travel every time. So, but they are helping us to something. So I thought that
Yeah.
if you find anything nearby, it will be easy for us.
Yeah, and if you can just give me some broad idea of in which areas or domains your children are working, like, you may just that one of them is working in textile or one of them is working in this kind of product. So accordingly, also I can help you map what kind of expert you will
Yeah,
need.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Surely, ma'am. I'll do it out. I'll just.
Okay, ma'am.
Please share the contact details, ma'am. And sorry,
Yeah,
actually PPT you said that you will share.
yes, I will share, sir. I'll give it to madam if it is
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, okay, ma'am. Ma'am, whether it will be shared to all the participants in the group?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I'll share it out. I'll share it out. I'll share it out.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
yeah.
Ma'am, and you are saying about that AECSL, no? I am in Tirupati and I am assistant professor in Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College. How I can able to get a support from your group?
Yeah, you
So,
are in
so
IIC. Huh? You are in IIC only, no, sir?
No. I am in Vidyaniketan, Sri Vidyaniketan
Yeah,
Engineering College,
actually,
Tirupati.
you have joined the Institute Innovation Council, AICT's MHRDC, IIC program. You have registered, sir.
Ma'am, I don't know how to register
Okay,
there.
sir. You contact me, sir. I'll do it out. I'll do it out. So you can join
Okay,
in the thing and you will get it. Uh,
okay,
I okay. I'll share my number also.
okay, please,
I
ma'am.
think you can contact me also, sir. I'll make it out. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I'll
At
call
the
you.
end of the session, I'll carry it. Yeah, you can call me. No problem.
Thanks, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
ma'am, we can call it a day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a
ma'am.
lot,
Thank you.
everyone, for joining. Yeah, and I'll share my number and detail with ma'am, and you can take it from her, and we can connect anytime.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Good day.
Good day, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Very nice presentation.
Yeah, I have shared the feedback link, sir. You can just fill the feedback and make it.